everyone and welcome to my channel, and in today's video we will discuss about the first emperor of India, the Mauryas, the Mauryan Dynasty. So without any further ado, let's begin with the video. Usually in the earliest lessons of our UPSC history syllabus, we have learned that the Magadha became the most powerful of all 16 Mahajanapadas between 600 BCE and 400 BCE, and the rulers of the Mauryan Dynasty extended its boundaries from Magadha in the east to Kandahar in the northwest to the deep south. Usually, before starting the lesson, we should first understand kingdom to empire. Well, kingdom is a country or a state or a territory ruled by a king or a queen. You may say it as a monarchy. A vast kingdom is known as an empire. But what is Mauryan Dynasty? Well, Magadha under the Mauryan Dynasty became the India's first empire. The Mauryan Dynasty was so large that in order to control it, the empire needed a large army and administration. And to run up the processes, they needed administration, and to protect the whole area, they needed a large army. Well, who was this Chandragupta Maurya? The Mauryan Dynasty was founded by Chandragupta Maurya around 321 BCE. Well, he was the founder of the Mauryan Dynasty. It is believed that Chanakya was his mentor and guide, and he is the author of the book Arthashastra, which advises the kings who are on administration. And it is still believed that Chanakya is also known as Kautilya or Vishnugupta. It is believed that Chandragupta overthrew the last Nanda ruler, Dhanananda, and occupied his capital Pataliputra. He continued to capture territories, and gradually by capturing, he moved to the central part of India. Then after, he captured the area of northwest after the Alexander's departure, and he defeated Seleucus Nicator, who was the Alexander general between the period of 303 and 305 BCE. And also, Chandragupta made a gift of 500 elephants to the Greek general and captured the area across the Indus River. Seleucus sent his ambassador Megasthenes, and he lived for many years in the Mauryan court. Now family, we can discuss about the establishment of the Mauryan Dynasty, how Chandragupta made a great reach of Mauryan Dynasty all over the world. Establishment of the first empire, the Mauryan Dynasty. Dynasty is formed when members of the same family become the rulers, and Chandragupta Maurya established a big empire. It included three important cities like Pataliputra, Taxila and Ujjain. Pataliputra was the capital of the Mauryan Empire, whereas Taxila and Ujjain were the capital of the important provinces, and both of the cities were located on the important trade routes. Taxila was the gateway to the northwest and central Asia, while Ujjain was on the route from north to south India. And Seleucus ambassador Megasthenes wrote a book, Indica, and in this book he described Pataliputra as a large and beautiful city surrounded by a massive wall, and it has 570 towers and 64 gates. But who was Bindusara? He was the son of Chandragupta Maurya and the father of the Great Ashoka. Bindusara succeeded Chandragupta Maurya in the 297 BCE, and is said to have conquered the land between two seas, possibly the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. He campaigned in the Deccan, extending the Mauryan control in the peninsula as far south as Mysore. By the time of his death in 272 BCE, the entire subcontinent had practically came under the Mauryan control. The only area that remained hostile and unconquered was Kalinga. It was a coastal Odisha on the east coast, and it was his son Ashoka the Great, his son, who finally conquered and occupied Kalinga. But who was the one who occupied Kalinga? He was the son of Bindusara and the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya, Ashoka the Great. Now we learn about him, and now more about the Mauryan Dynasty. Ashoka is by far the most famous of the Mauryan kings. He left behind accounts of his reign in the form of inscriptions, and these inscriptions were written in Brahmi script, where his messages to people in far-flung areas, and he inscribed these messages on stone pillars and rock edicts of the Sanchi Stupa. These pillars were crowned with capitals. They included lions and bulls, and the lion capital, which was found on Sahara Sarnath is the national emblem of India. The Ashoka Chakra carved in the lion capital is also the part of Indian flag, and it is said to be one of the inscription of the Mauryan Dynasty. And the Mauryan Empire for the first time brought political unity and administrative uniformity in India. And we can know about the Mauryan administration from the various sources as the Edicts of Ashoka, the Indika of Megathens, and the Arthashastra of Chanakya. The conquest of Kalinga. The most important events of Ashoka's reign were conquest of Kalinga and the subsequent adoption of Buddhism by Ashoka. He is perhaps the only king in the history to renounce conquest after winning the war. The horror of the war was described by a king in one of his inscriptions. The horror was that 150,000 people were deported. 100,000 were killed and many more died. The war caused much suffering to the people, the Brahmins and the Buddhist monks. This caused Ashoka much grief and remorse. He abandoned the policy of physical conquest in favor to the policy of Dhamma. Now I'm going to tell you what is Dhamma and what was it for. I'm going to tell you about the Ashoka's Dhamma and the meaning of Dhamma. The word Dhamma is a Prakrit form of the Sanskrit word Dharma, meaning religious duty. However, Ashoka's Dhamma was not a religious faith. It did not include any rituals or performance of sacrifices. The Dhamma was related to the norms of social behavior. The emperor believed that it is moral duty of the king to teach his subjects and these norms. But Ashoka believed that it was keeping in his empire was not safe. He wanted to spread this Dhamma all over the world and the empires and to follow this Dhamma and spread it all over the world. Now I'm going to tell you the reason for Dhamma. Ashoka adopted the policy of Dhamma because of the number of problems people faced, and these are some reasons. The Mauryan Empire included people from different religions, and sometimes conflicts occurred among different religious groups, and sometimes people sacrificed animals for the religious rites, and people treated their elders, slaves and servants very badly. But there were conflicts among the families and amongst neighbors. As a result, the emperor felt the need to solve these problems because it was the moral duty of the emperor. Now, I'm going to tell you about the principles of the Mauryan dynasty, welfare measures took by Ashoka and the spread of Dhamma and the Mauryan administration and the taxation and the decline of Mauryas. The principles of Dhamma. Ashoka in his various edicts has explained some of the basic principles of Dhamma. These are some principles. Principle number 1. Obedience to one's mother and father, elders, teachers and other respectable people. Proper treatment of assets, relatives, slaves, servants and dependents, the poor and miserable, friends and acquaintances and companions. Principle number 3. Absistence from killing or injuring of all living beings, spending and accumulating little wealth, truthfulness, morality and purity of art. These were some principles of Dhamma programmed by Ashoka in his empire. Welfare measures. In his Dhamma, Ashoka attempted a careful synthesis of various norms which were prevalent during his reign. Non-violence first were practiced by giving a war or a conquest and also as a restraint on the killing of animals. The policy of Dhamma also included certain welfare measures like planting of plants, digging of wells and constructions of canals. Ashoka prohibited conducting of ceremonies and sacrifices regularly. He built rest houses on the highways and he also built hospitals for both human and animals because in Dhamma, animals played a very significant role. Spread of Dhamma. Ashoka adopted several measures for the spread of Dhamma. Ashoka gave principles of Dhamma on rock and pillar edicts. There are 14 rock edicts and 7 pillar edicts and these are found in Sanchi Stupa of Madhya Pradesh. Ashoka was trying to establish direct communication with his subjects. These inscriptions were written in Prakrit language, which was local language of people. He appointed special officers called Dhamma Mahamatta. These officers went from one place to another to teach people about the policies of Dhamma. These officers were also instructed by king to read the edicts to those people who are unable to read, like who are with disabilities. He even sent messages to other countries like Sri Lanka, Syria, Greece, Egypt to spread Dhamma. So family, I hope you have enjoyed the video. Please give it a like, share with your friends and subscribe to my channel. And I'll meet you in the next video with the decline of Mauryas, taxation and how did Ashoka control a vast empire and about the Mauryan administration. Till the time, signing off, Snigdha.